All righty, episode 116 of the Paws Up podcast, and we're going to football. So I think it's a good time to do that, kind of recap the season a little bit, dive a little bit into the portal, and just kind of preview what's coming up with this team. So, Jake, how we doing? I'm excited to do this, and we have a familiar face. I think it's the third time coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
round of applause for another member of the trio of Paws Up podcast appearances. Kind of. Technically, on a technicality, this is his second Paws Up podcast episode, but his first appearance on the show was a preview, I believe, for a CUSA tournament game for FIU Hoops against, I want to say, Jack State. So we've come a long way, but of course, Darin Yrigoyen, friend of the show, obviously the SID for FIU football alongside softball and tennis. A whole lot going on, Darin. How are you doing? Unfortunately, your streak of being an SID at FIU, coinciding with your Eagles being in the Super Bowl, ended after 2 years. It's unfortunate. Now you have to start fresh. You have to start anew.
Yeah, exactly. We had to give somebody else a chance, so this was not our year. But overall, things have been going great at FIU. Love what you guys do on the pod, and happy to be here again. Like you said, this is technically my second real episode, but I did do a little preview for basketball. I know it was for Jack State, and I think I was there at the time. If not, maybe I was on my way. Those basketball marathons, especially the last 2 years, going right from the end of the season to the conference tournament and being on the road, it's kind of all blur. I'm not even sure where I'm at, what I'm doing. I'm just following along with the team and making sure that everything on my end is tied up and good to go. So
You were in Jack State. I think you're in the hotel. So
Huntsville, yeah.
I don't know where it was, but yeah. So now things have changed. Wait, I'm curious. Jake, it's what, Scott Carr and Darin is the only three-peat guests on here?
No. Scott Carr and Billy Gill.
It's a pretty good.
That is an exclusive list. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, all righty. So, alrighty, Darin, a lot has changed as we kind of noted. You were with basketball, now you're with football. So I'm sure that's been cool. Just what would 2026 Darin now in January say to 2023 Darin in September when he got to FIU? What to expect from this place and how has it been? And then just what would 2026 Darin say to 2023 Darin when he first got here?
that's actually a really good question. I don't know, like, that it's a concise statement, but just kind of weather the storm and kind of also realize that there's a lot of good things at FIU and this is a budding opportunity. And, I really think it's a good message for anybody really when they're starting somewhere new in their career or even starting out their career. Like, maybe what you want isn't going to happen right away. But if you show that you have the know-how and you have the confidence and the leadership to be able to take that on, you just got to kind of be ready for your opportunity. And I knew that I would be. And when the opportunity presented itself to take a step up and take a leadership role in the department and work with football and everything that comes with that, it was something that I'd kind of been waiting on, but I was willing to wait my turn. And I think that was a big part of, why I'm still here at FIU and really enjoying my experience and feel like there's still so much more that can be done.
Well, Tyler's now the men's basketball SID, and he's hunting it down over there. And just what do you miss the most about MBB? I have a feeling the road trips were part of that, and I know the staff was great over there too.
Yeah, you just have to kind of understand the dynamic between working with a football team versus working with the basketball team. When I'm traveling on the road with the basketball team, for example, we're on the road for 5-6 days together at a time sometimes, and there's only 15 or 20 of us that are going, right? And those are coaches and players, but it gives you an opportunity to get a little bit, I would say, maybe a closer relationship with the team, especially the coaching staff. There's kind of a line there between us as employees and the student athletes. So I try not to get too close. But with the coaches, definitely a different vibe. But also, football's been extremely welcoming. It's just different the way it is. Obviously, we leave the day before, we come the day back. It's really just, we kind of hang out in our own support staff unit, and then we're there to work. And then when we're on the road, we're there to go, we're there to play, we're there to win, and we're there to leave, right? In basketball, there's a lot more downtime. I spent a lot of time with the coaches, just like staying up late, hanging out, watching film in the, the hotel room a lot of times, or in the meeting space, and it's not quite the same with football. There's really not one that I consider like better than the other, but it is different in the dynamic that you were alluding to there, Kevin. Definitely miss being around the basketball team. Jeremy Ballard is an incredible guy, and that type of leadership and standard that he sets, it trickles down to his coaching staff, who are all great people. I know you guys have dealt with them and had some of them on the pod. They're always going to go out of their way to do something nice for you. They're never really going to give you a hard time. And Willie Simmons has really done a good job of establishing that with his staff in football as well. There's a level of respect and understanding. Things can be fun, but also when it's time to work, it's time to work. And Coach Simmons, as you know, is really good at finding that balance between being really serious and knowing when to have fun and being able to pick those moments and lead his group like that. And, just because we're not some of the players, I think a head coach, especially in a football program, but really in a Division I program in general, is kind of leading everybody, whether it's the support staff, whether it's his assistant coaches, whether it's the players. We all kind of march to the beat of Coach Simmons's drum. And I think when you have a leader like that, it's really easy to buy in and even gives you more kind of drive and fire in your profession when you know that you're working for or with somebody that really knows what they're doing.
Well said there, Darin. Now, in July, sorry, excuse me. Hold on. Let me get ready here. There we go. Didn't want to leave you by yourself there, Darin. In July of 2025, you were promoted to the Assistant Athletic Director for Strategic and Brand Communications. It's quite a mouthful, but aside from the new sports you're the primary contact for, what are some other aspects of that role that people might not know about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, the sport responsibilities go with it, but a lot of my role is honestly managing some of the other people in our department, whether it's full-time employees, interns. That's a big part of it. And then also really just being involved in some like higher level kind of athletics wide type of agendas, whether that's helping out with the rollout of our new snack brand or helping out kind of getting some of this new podcasting initiative that we have going, some internally, some of that stuff. That's kind of where I've been getting myself more involved. But I think a big thing for us too was just trying to build our internal force more. We have 3 other full-timers and me, which is great, but I think you've seen it across the board, whether it be in the creative content unit, in our unit, interns, and just people that provide extra help are really an integral and important part of what we do. And you really won't be able to work to the standard that we want to work to without those people. So it was very big for me to try to get people in, get them invested, and sort of lead and mentor them as they kind of figure out what this whole working in athletics thing is about. So I think it's very much more of it's the day-to-day sport responsibilities like you normally would have as an SID, but more of a stated leadership role and kind of those things that come with it.
Well said there, Darin. The main SID of football. Wow. I mean, when you joined FIU, I think it's no shock now, this was the sport you were hoping to land. You mentioned you were waiting for that opportunity. Are you a little shocked in retrospect you got it this early during your time here, or do you consider that this late during your time here?
I mean, I think the timing of it was pretty good. It was nice being able to get into the Division I world and maybe working with what people see as, it's really kind of 1A and 1B, but working with sort of men's basketball that's not quite on that same status to sort of figure out. Obviously, the other places that I've been at, I had a lot of experience with social media and all the SID communications task, you could say. But as far as dealing with media, my experience was pretty limited just because we didn't really have very much media in general at those levels, unless you were winning the national championship or something like that, which I was fortunate enough to experience at Chicago when I was working in Division III. The media interest wasn't that much. I wasn't credentialing like anybody for games. So there were some different things that I had to get used to at the Division I level, all that I understood before coming to FIU, but you don't really know and can't really do it until you actually are in that position. So I think 2 years with basketball was great. And no, I wouldn't say I was shocked just due to kind of the way that things have progressed here at FIU and some natural progression. I kind of saw the writing on the wall, But I will say, like Jake said, and it's not really to toot my own horn, but just to state a fact. There's only 134 people in the entire world that have the same job as me, right? That work as an Division I FBS SID, right? So it is seen as a prestigious position. It is seen as something that people that work in this industry want to get to. This isn't where I want to stop, but regardless, a huge opportunity for me in my career, something I felt ready for. But there's a lot of people that'll probably tell you that they've been ready for a job and they still had to wait 5 years to get it, right? So I got a great opportunity at FIU and had the trust of, most importantly, my colleagues, but also Jason McBain, who oversees our area. He was the one that kind of decided to structure my title and kind of move it in a way that college athletics is sort of going, sort of on the brand and digital strategy side, as opposed to simply just sports information or communications, because what we do is more than that. And you guys know that. So just thankful that I was trusted when there was an opportunity to step up to be the guy. I definitely feel lucky in a way to be in this role and have certainly enjoyed every minute of it.
By the way, to clarify something, I looked back. Darin's first appearance was on a Paws Up preview. It was against Jack State. Wasn't a tournament game. It was actually the start of the CUSA stretch
That's what I
of
thought,
the 2024 season. And yes, Darin was in a hotel in Jacksonville. Johnny, conveniently also wearing a hat. Johnny was also on that show as well. So things have changed quite a bit. Yeah, January 6th, 2024.
Nair's going to be on soon, so for baseball. So
he'll enjoy that as well. I know he will. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving forward, let's talk about 2025, the season. Obviously, huge season for this team. But for you, Darin, just what was it like, right? I mean, clearly different responsibilities. Like, for example, you don't run the socials for the football feed. That's definitely something different. It's a lot more broadcast stuff, I'm sure. It's a lot more hands-on stuff throughout the week leading up to a game. I've seen you during game days and all that stuff, and even during the game you're working too. So just talk about what the responsibilities for you look like, if you want to even differentiate between home and road, and just how much different is it from basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different from basketball because there's a lot more prep in the lead up, because there can be, but also because football requires that. Basketball, especially during the conference season, it was like, okay, you get a couple days at the beginning of the week to prepare for your Thursday game, but then, okay, the Thursday game ends. You're probably figuring out where you're going to go next on Friday, and then you have a game on Saturday. So you're not really going to be able to do a whole lot when it comes to, you're just going to have to get the basics out. Some easily fixable or easily updated game notes and, your preview and getting your graphics up. And that's pretty much what a week to week of basketball looked like. It's a lot of kind of just scrambling. The one thing about football that I liked is I was in a little bit more of a routine. Monday, I was going to do this. Tuesday, I was going to do that. By Wednesday, I was going to have a credential list. Credentials were going to be made. I had interns in the office to help me do all that. So it was a little bit more of a routine. I would say the only exception for that is these weekday CUSA games where it's hard to get in a routine because unless you're going to work on Saturday and Sunday like the football team does, like it's Wednesday or Thursday, you definitely had to kind of jam it in a little bit more than normal. But regardless, then the other thing, like what you were alluding to, is just definitely more involvement with broadcast. I believe this year we had 6 or 7 nationally televised games, and it was tied for the most in the regular season. But then since we had the bowl game, it was the most nationally televised games we've ever had. So national TV just presents a little bit of a different, not challenge, but just a different situation, a different setup. When we have our internal broadcast that goes on ESPN Plus, our production guy, Nick, and our main broadcaster, Corey, they know everything about the team. They kind of have what they want to talk about, what we don't want them to talk about. All that kind of stuff is kind of pretty simple. I don't even meet with them on a week to week. But when we're meeting with, the Paul Carcateras of the world, the Andre Wares of the world that do national broadcasts, they don't really know FIU from anybody else, and they really only have a couple days to prepare, right? So my job is to dump them as much as I possibly can so they can talk in an informed way about FIU, but also so that they can promote us in whatever way we can. It's kind of interesting how it works with a broadcast where, yes, you're trying to give them all the pertinent information, but you're also trying to make sure that they're going to share the stuff that we want talked about, whether that be Vice, whether that be Pitbull, the stuff that FIU is branding with and trying to build our brand that way. It's really important on a national broadcast that they tie that in, because that's our opportunity for the entire country to see us, right?
Mhm.
The reality is these ESPN Plus games, you have to go looking for them. When a game's on ESPN2 or ESPNU and it's a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock and there's no other games on, these are going to be our highest viewership games. And obviously we can't control the outcome on the field. That's what will make the biggest impact. But if you're able to have them tell a good story with it, even bigger impact. If you're able to have them tell a good story and you don't win, you can still make that impact on somebody, right? So that was a big part of this job versus basketball, was just working with national TV broadcasts more often, and then just working with a ton of media. I mean, whether it's, and I know it's not anything in comparison to what Indiana had to deal with, I'm sure, or anything like that, but at our level, really me being kind of the only primary guy, I have my internal people, whether that be you guys, whether that be Brandon, some of the other people, Walt, Miami Herald around the team. But then I have, people wanting to set up a coach's show with Coach Simmons. There's a lot of other things there that weren't there with basketball, just kind of the nature of the beast with football, that were cool to take on. And yeah, I mean, even just the credentialing process, like for basketball on a game that was maybe like our biggest game, maybe when we played against FAU or something like that, I was maybe making, including broadcasts and everybody, I was maybe making 25 credentials. For like our Bethune game this year, or our FAU football game this year, or the Vice game against Kennesaw, we made over 100 credentials for each game. So just the difference there and kind of how you have to balance all of that, it's kind of, I mean, I guess this is maybe the wrong way to say it, but it's kind of like basketball on steroids. Everything with basketball was, at maybe a 25% level, that everything with football is ramped up to 100. So that's the best way to describe it. It's not a whole lot different, but that's kind of a lot of the responsibilities that I handle. And then I even handle like placing orders for the media food from Jersey Mike's, like any little thing that you can think of that kind of touches our area is going to be, is going to kind of be on me. I delegate things because you have to. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. I'm responsible really for anything with communications, media wise, really for the whole show.
Yeah, I noticed first it was 7 nationally televised games. That includes the bowl game, and the bowl game was the most viewed G5 versus G5 bowl game, I believe. So that was huge, and it definitely helps that it was a standalone game at that moment on ESPN. So everyone's
and I believe our game against Western Kentucky was actually one of the most viewed of the weekday CUSA games.
Nice.
So again, is that because it's FIU? Is that because it's timing? You can't really say, but regardless, we'll take it. And it shows that there's a level of interest there, in our games, and that's a big part of why they do weekday CUSA, and getting games nationally televised when you're at the G5 level is huge. It's really hard to compete with these other big schools on Friday, Saturday, so you kind of have to find a way to make it work. And then I guess on the road, my responsibilities in the lead up are a little bit less. It's a little bit more, the host school is going to be involved in the credentialing and food and all that kind of stuff that I don't have to handle, but I'm doing pretty similar stuff with the broadcast teams. I'm providing a lot more assets for the visiting school because they don't have a lot of our stuff. It's the same thing with these national broadcasters, the visiting school. When I'm working with Nick, life is easy, or easier. But I mean, I welcome that. It's cool to get a chance to obviously interact with colleagues in the industry. A lot of people in my position, I've never really looked, but I would venture to say at 33 that I'm one of the youngest FBS SIDs out there. So a lot of the people in my, thank you for that, Jake. I appreciate it. But yeah, more just saying, like, a lot of people in my role have a lot more experience than I do, right, in doing this specifically. So I try to make sure that we have a good relationship with them. It's really important to kind of respect your colleagues. You never know where your paths are going to cross again. And we kind of all, just like you guys are in the media, you see other people in the media, the grind that it takes and sometimes the struggle that it takes to make it. And sort of I understand that in the SID world. So that's been cool to be able to kind of be front and center with some of those people. And also just the way it's structured, a lot of those people are the ones leading the departments at their schools. So again, something that I can learn from, right?
Yep, I mentioned Johnny and the mayor, and I feel like I got to mention him because he would be a little disappointed if he's not. He is your football secondary technically, and he was huge during the bowl game, and he's been big, huge impact here during the offseason. How important has he been?
Yeah, it's just important to have a second person that you can really trust, and has seen enough of it to be able to kind of develop into that secondary role. The way that his kind of primary role is structured gives him a little bit more wiggle room. He doesn't travel with any of the teams regularly. He's around, which certainly helps foster that. But he graduated into this role, or was kind of chosen to be in this role, because he's really good and consistent, and not only able to help with some of the easier things that I need help with, the low-hanging fruit, if you want to call it that, but he's able to help with some of the more complex things, whether it be stats and all that kind of stuff is right up his alley. And just, I think that him and I make a good team. And I recognize where not my weaknesses, but just my areas that I'm not always able to be 100% dove into, where Johnny can fill that space and be that guy. Candidly, this year was kind of like a pseudo secondary until the bowl game. And now in the offseason, he's really taken on that role. But next year it will be this is a weird way to say it, but next year it will be like a primary secondary, where like he really will be with me. And I hope that he'll be able to go on as many of the trips as possible. Kevin, you've been there with us before, and having an extra hand is super helpful, whether it be to help with participation, setting up the backdrop, just having somebody up in the press box area. That was one thing I was going to say before, is just, it's not something that I plan on doing all the time, but it was kind of surprising to me how many SIDs actually spend most of the game on the field. There's some, you might think like, oh, like you should be up in the press box. That's like what SIDs do. And it is true, but down on the field, it gives you the opportunity to connect coach and players with sideline reporters or whatever it is. Somebody gets injured, then I have ESPN texting me, asking me what's going on. All of a sudden I'm, 1,000 feet away up in the press box, and I can't tell them what's going on. And when somebody's having a medical emergency, the first thing isn't going to be to text me, right? So just being down there on the field it helped me stay more informed, and I think it worked from a good process when we were able to have people in both places. And candidly, it's fun down there. And, I get the opportunity to spend time with some senior admins, whether that be Scott Carr, Jason, Kevin Kendrick, and they watch the games. They're professional, but they watch the games just like a fan would, and they're that invested in this team. And Kevin knows, I am too. End of the day, my role isn't to be a fan, and I try to be as unbiased as I can in my work. But when it comes to cheering for the teams, I'm all FIU through and through, especially when it comes to football. So
I think you speak for everyone here on this podcast. But speaking of the man himself, he was featured quite a bit on every single nationally televised game. Willie Simmons. What were your first interactions with Willie? What's it been like working with him? You kind of noted it. You kind of go to the beat of his own drum, but he's certainly been a great addition to this FIU team from the wins and losses standpoint of things. And clearly the team loves him. I mean, noting how it's family over football quite a bit, and just the family environment that he's brought in, and the staff too.
Yeah, I mean, Willie Simmons, from the jump, I knew we had a guy that was going to be able to make a difference. I didn't know that it was going to be this fast, and there were times where it was rough. And I think without somebody like Coach Simmons that sticks to his standards and doesn't change, good, bad, or ugly, that is really what helped pull the team through the tough times this season. I think if you had someone that was a little bit more of an emotional roller coaster leading the team, things really could have gotten off the rails there after Mo State. But Coach really challenged them in the locker room and just said, you guys have what it takes to do this. It's just about, are you going to buy in enough, and are you going to work hard enough, and are you going to not take no for an answer? And the guys were extremely receptive to that. So Willie was a guy that when he came in, obviously you kind of need to see it first, right? Everybody is a skeptic, especially when you're from Philly. You're going to be a skeptic until you see it, right? But I always thought he was going to be able to get it done. But there were times there, like I said, that I thought, okay, this is year one. We need to not be reactionary. It's going to take time to build something. Had some good wins to be able to kind of piggyback off of, whether it be Western Kentucky, Florida Atlantic, some other games where we really showed strong against Penn State as well. But I kind of will be honest with you guys. I really thought it was our dreams of making a bowl game in year one were over after we lost to Mo State. I will firmly tell you, I thought it was done and cooked. And the way that he was able to, obviously with the guys, and he'd be the first one to point the finger to his players, to do what they did, I think because you end up with a 7-5 record and it happens all at the end of the season, it gets swept under the rug just a little bit, not locally, but a little bit nationally. But I think what this team did in getting to a bowl game with all of the situations that are involved with FIU football and this season especially, it was one of the best coaching jobs in the entire FBS. I am firmly a believer in that. And that's not just because I'm an FIU guy. I will firmly tell you it's one of the best coaching jobs. Is it what Signetti did? No. But is it one of the better coaching jobs in all of FBS? Yes, I really do think Willie Simmons this season. And we saw he had some external interest because of that. And that's just because people recognize if you really were paying attention to FIU football and you saw what happened in those last 4 games and how Willie Simmons really took some chances in order to make it happen, whether it be changing the quarterback, even though that was a little bit due to injury, whether it be kind of changing the mentality, keeping the guys bought in. It just doesn't happen like that, man. You guys know how it is. When you start to slip, especially when you don't have a history of winning, usually it goes down the hill the wrong way. So the way Coach Simmons was able to do that in year one is insanely impressive. And like I said, I'm lucky to be a part of FIU football, whether they were 0-12 or 7-5 or 12-0. But this season made me feel very fortunate to be a part of this, not just knowing the history, but knowing that honestly, like, yes, a conference championship season would supplant this, but it won't. If you're that good consistently, you kind of get numb to it. This was one of those years where it's like, I can't believe we won, or like, how did we lose? You know what I mean? Every game had that like roller coaster of emotions. And I think at the end of the season, like, even though the bowl game wasn't our best showing, I was just kind of spent, and I was like, I shouldn't be this spent. But I thought back to it, and I was like, we really did kind of go through the ringer this year. And Coach Simmons and the staff deserve every bit of credit for finding a way to have some success. And now I expect them to immediately build on that here in year 2.
There were so many great moments that come to our mind, but overall, how satisfied are you with your first football season, resulting in the team making their first bowl game since 2019? Do you consider yourself a good luck charm now that you're the SID of FIU football?
Well, considering I worked with basketball, I don't know how much I can say that's necessarily 100% a good luck charm. But I will say, getting a chance to experience a season like this in year one, knowing how much history was made along the way. And when people talk about making history, that means there were a lot of people that came through this program and worked for this program that never saw anything like that, right? So, and for you, Jake, you saw it, in year one at FIU, and you had to wait all the way until now to get it again. So I feel fortunate and blessed that was something that kind of just happened for me. Am I a good luck charm? No. But there were really good vibes around the program that I think helped them win. Better vibes around the program than there ever have been in my time at FIU, I'll say. And I hope that I played a small part in bringing that and providing support for that. Favorite moment of the season? Well, I mean, obviously, like, the culminating moment of winning against and making the bowl game, getting the win against Jax and making the bowl game was obviously like my favorite moment, end game. But I'll tell you, and Kevin knows this, my favorite moment of the entire season was when Alex Perry caught the ball at his own 30-yard line, and he's shoving off defenders. I don't know if you guys even know this reference, but like what was that Madden video? It was like Darren Sharper, he's the hardest hitting safety in the league. Have you guys ever seen this video?
Greg Jennings.
I'll show the kids. Yes, Greg Jennings. That's what he reminded me of when he was just shirking defenders. And Alex Perry is more of a possession receiver, right? And just that play in that moment, the electricity and just being there to witness it. Like I said, everything always kind of seems surreal, especially when we were on that run to end the year. But that was like the most surreal moment for me. And, I was jumping up and down and acting like a kid. And I think that's what sports is about sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
So, yeah, favorite moment of the season was the Alex Perry touchdown. And I will take that to the bank every time. Favorite moments in general of the season were just honestly the Friday nights or the Tuesday nights or the Wednesday nights before the road games. Just being able to spend time with all the other people on our support staff that we work really closely together. But when you get a chance to go on the road, you get a chance to hang out and just relax and talk and, unwind a little bit. And it's not 100% a work setting all the time. It's a cool experience and something that I didn't have when I was with basketball. And was part of the reason that I was much closer with the coaching staff is just, I traveled with my boy Javi and Teo, but like otherwise it was a small squad and most of the other guys were players. So I kind of kept a little bit more to myself. It was just a different atmosphere. So I think that was my favorite part of off field. So Alex Perry on field and getting a chance to spend time with really our external unit and really anybody who wanted to that's on the support staff the night before the games. So.
Very wholesome answer, Darin. I love it. Darin, there were so many fun moments at that press box this past year at Pitbull Stadium. To clarify, because this is now we're cutting deep, but the Pitbull Stadium press box on game day is unlike any press box that you may ever go to. With how it's almost like a weird family in there. I remember how hyped up Kevin and I were for the Shula Bowl. How nervous we got for those Liberty and Jack State games that came down to the wire. What was your favorite moment at that press box?
Favorite moment in the press box? Maybe when we made the fake depth chart for Delaware.
I love it.
And my coworker, Lucas Nidich, he wasn't in on it, I guess. He didn't know. So then he asked the other SID if this was the real depth chart. And he was like, why is Joe Flacco at quarterback? I don't get it. And then the other SID was like, oh, well, you guys did this to us. And like, it was kind of an awkward moment, but I kind of live for the funny, awkward moments. So that one was probably up there, if I'm being honest, as far as just funny things to happen in the press box. But I think also all of our kind of like quiet, like excitement, but not trying to go too crazy. It's always kind of funny when you're trying to restrain yourself a little bit. But you can't. So it's a little bit of a, and then, I mean, I will say that we passed the time well. So I will say that I did enjoy those, but I wouldn't be wishing for more 2-hour delays in the press box.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I will
forgot
say
about
it was an
those.
enjoyable time. It's just not exactly what I'm wishing for in the future. But yeah, I would say press box wise, the depth chart moment was definitely high up on my list. I know Kevin enjoyed that one too. So
That was something.
that's on me. I got to make sure all my employees are informed, I guess, because I thought he knew.
Oh,
the
Lucas.
vibes, and he did not know the vibes, and it just made them.
No, everybody knew this except Lucas.
It just made them even more salty. So whatever. But yeah, so that's probably my top moment.
Darin, I don't even think you were in the press box when this moment happened, but Kevin, I know you recall, and it wasn't a good moment, but it's one I do remember. At the end of regulation against Liberty, when they went all the way down, kicked that field goal to force it into overtime, you could hear a pin drop in that press box. We were all so unbelievably. I know Lucas was in there. We were all just equally stunned. Thank God they won in overtime, so we can kind of forget that. But I do remember that moment. I think you were on the field when it happened, Darin. So
let's do it.
All right, let's do it then. It's time to look around FIU athletics. Who to watch from the 305, and we got to start off with hoops, as we have 2 games going on after this episode drops on Thursday, February the 12th, as we hope to schedule. The first is at 7 o'clock for men's basketball at home at the OBCC against Delaware. That can be seen on ESPN Plus if you can't make it, but it should be a good one. They're then going to take on La Tech the following Saturday at home as well, so definitely could be a fun couple of games to attend for men's basketball. Now, on the other side, women's basketball is going to be at Louisiana Tech later tonight at 7:30 Eastern over in Ruston. But, of course, that can be seen on ESPN+. They then head to Sam Houston also on Saturday, ESPN+ as well. They'll be back at home on Thursday, February the 19th at 11 a.m. when they take on the Blue Hens of Delaware at the OBCC. And, yes, opening day is literally one day away for FIU baseball as they take on Villanova on Friday the 13th at 6 p.m. over at the FIU Baseball Stadium. The rest of the series plays out on Saturday and Sunday at 3 o'clock and noon, respectively. All these games can be seen on ESPN Plus if you cannot make them. And then softball already into the schedule at the time of recording. They will be at the University of Florida tournament coming up on Friday, February the 13th at 10:30 a.m., where they're going to take on Marshall, then Georgia Tech later in the day at 1 o'clock. This tournament is in Gainesville completely. They'll then take on the University of Florida on Saturday, then finishing up once again against Marshall on Sunday the 15th. And then last but not least, swim and dive. It takes on the University of Miami and a bunch of other schools at the First Chance meet tomorrow, the 13th at 11 a.m. over in Coral Gables. This is the last regular season match, if you will, before they head over to the American Swim and Dive Championships on Wednesday the 18th, and that'll continue on until the 21st of February. So that was a pretty brief look around FIU athletics. We'll now get into some fun talk here, but Darin, kind of hard to believe that the quarterback for FIU, Pazanski, was an Eagles fan. Did you feel some sort of connection with Joe on a personal level, considering you rooted for the same freaking team from Philadelphia?
Of course. Just honestly, it was kind of funny finding out that he was an Eagles fan sort of after he had some of that success. So it was easy to attribute his success to that because that's what we would do. But yeah, no, Joe is actually originally from the family's originally from Westchester, which is just like Philly suburbs, but it's really right there, right around the city. Kevin's somewhat familiar with kind of that area. But yeah, having a dude from Philly as a quarterback, I never have any complaints, and certainly was able to kind of right the ship for FIU. And like I said, the storybook ending and just the way that the season went, would not have happened without Joe and the way he was able to step up and take ownership on that quarterback role. So lucky to have him, lucky that he was able to be the guy when we needed him to be. And of course he's blessed to be an Eagles fan. We all are. So
okay,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at 2026 offseason, a lot of moving the transfer portal, as we know, but wasn't as bad as obviously the coaching change stuff when we saw it from one year to another. Some coaching staff stuff, which I'm sure we'll dive into at some point in the future once all that is finalized. But just thoughts on the class. I know bringing quarterback JJ Cole, 6'7" tall, he's like 100-something pounds. Jake, don't do it. And then you bring in Greg Gaines from Rhode Island. You get a lot of depth in the O-line. I think it was overall a really good transfer portal class for this FIU team. Plus the returners, you get to pick and choose where you put them in there as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think you can see that the staff, and I mean, with the portal, it kind of gives you an idea of where the areas of need are. But you can see that the staff and GM Jose Jefferson and Katie Willis and TJ DeMoss that were really involved in the recruiting and the transfer portal efforts really were able to identify, okay, which areas do we need to build either depth or provide some replacement and reload, and let's go and let's get more than we need in those areas, whether that be in the secondary, whether that be on the defensive line. They really did a nice job of rebuilding in a way where I really don't see this team missing a beat. I also think that in the era of the portal, you get kind of a wide variety of guys that'll come in. Some of them are maybe higher talent guys that didn't get as much experience and are kind of coming back looking for more playing time. Some of the other guys are maybe guys that were at a lower level and they had playing time, but they're looking to make up and make that jump. So I think that at the G5 level, especially where we are at, coaching is so important, and being able to identify talent and develop it. And this staff, even before Coach Simmons, some of the coaches on this staff, but certainly last year, showed that they could really do that. I mean, if you go back and you look at Alex Perry's numbers from Hawaii, they're not all too impressive. You look at
Right.
Alex Perry on the roster page, he looks great. He's 6'5", he's 240, he's a beast. But when you look at his numbers and he's got, 14 catches for 100 yards in a whole season, you're like, so what's good with this guy? Well, they were able to come in, identify he was the guy, find a way to get him integrated into the offense, and he just got better and better every single week, more and more production. And you saw at the end of the season, he was peaking, so was FIU. And I think this coaching staff really has a good eye for talent and a good ability for development. And so when you bring these guys in the portal that you might not know as much about, or you don't know what you're getting, I'm not really too worried about them. I think that as long as the coaching staff identifies that they have the character and the skill for it, the infrastructure that exists at FIU will get the absolute best out of them. And then you said something about JJ Cole. Thought it was kind of funny to make a little bit of a connection there. But you talked about how Joe P is from Philly and we have the Eagles connection, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've been a lot of places and seen a lot of things, but I actually lived out in Des Moines and I lived in Iowa for a long time.
Oh,
and
wow.
JJ Cole is from Iowa. JJ Cole played at Ankeny, which is in the Des Moines suburban area, a strong area for football in general. Not Florida, obviously, guys.
Of course.
That's why it's negative 10 degrees in Iowa right now. It's a bit different than Florida. But a guy that I'm at least familiar with his background, and maybe we've gone to a couple of the same restaurants, and I know probably generally the area where he grew up because I lived in West Des Moines. So, again, the more and more you go around in athletics, the more and more connections you'll find. And I just thought it was funny that of all the quarterbacks in the portal to bring in, we brought in JJ, who I think will be a great player. I think Coach Simmons and Coach Coleman are a bit of a QB whisperer, and they'll get the absolute best out of him. But him being from Iowa kind of is cool for me, just because a lot of people don't even know where Iowa is, let alone have any tie to it. And I lived there for about 7 years with my family. I went to college out there, lived there a little bit after college. So, again, it's an area that I have a lot of familiarity with. And, based on that, without even meeting the guy, I expect him to just be a stand-up dude, nice guy, Midwest type of personality, and somebody that can be a leader as much in word as in example. And I think that's really important for a quarterback. You can say all the right things, but if you're on the field and you're acting some type of way or you're not making plays, it's hard to keep your teammates bought in. Quarterback's such an important position, most important position in sports. So JJ Cole, I think, is exactly what FIU Nation was looking for. And I think they'll be highly, impressed with what the guy can do when he goes out there. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest difference with this class, and Jake, we're obviously going to do a deeper dive on these names, but it's just they actually come with experience, quite a bit of experience, actually. Like you look at Brayshawn Littlejohn, you look at Greg Gaines, like those are two guys who first, Littlejohn, who played quite a bit at App State, had over 30-something tackles. You look at the three South Alabama players that they brought in, all three of them with a lot of experience, especially the safety, who had back-to-back 59 total tackle seasons. Greg Gaines with an 1,000-yard receiving season at Rhode Island. Before that, he had like a 700-yard receiving season. So you bring in experience, and even JJ. I mean, JJ started quite a bit of games at App State, had some run over at Iowa State as well, not a lot of it. So I think this class especially, and even in the O-line, Davion Harley, like that was one of my favorite transfers, was at Jack State. From Jack State goes to Cal, but he played 2 years at Jack State and started almost all their games, was in the Conference USA championship team. So they brought in a lot of experience there. So I think that's something to definitely note there too, just the difference from one class to the other. And that's obviously a big reason for the university and the resources.
Yep, absolutely. Resources are tied into that, but also when you have the proof on paper, when you talk about a guy like Johnny Chaney or Alex Perry, came here barely playing and turned them into first-team All-CUSA players, both of them, right? G7 came in, wasn't getting a lot of playing time at the various places that he'd been. Came in, made a big impact. Anthony Carey, I expect him to be pretty much the guy this upcoming year. Was underrated because you had KJ Owens having the best running back season in FIU history in front of him. But again, another guy that came in that this coaching staff has shown that we can take you, we can make you, and we will give you the opportunity to have success. We're not just going to bring you in as just another guy. If we believe in you, even if we got you in the portal, we're going to give you every chance to be that guy. Zion Chapman is a guy you could talk about there. There's so many guys that came in the portal class, Antonio Tripp, that this team would not have been able to have as much success without them. So,
and even Kenton Simmons on that list too.
Yep, and you got some guys that came in that portal class that are still around that you're looking to have the breakout year next year that showed some things, whether that's JoJo Stone, and there's other guys like him that we expect him to be able to step in, and other guys that we think can step in and into a more primary role.
All righty, let's look ahead now. 2026 coming up. Not the full schedules. We still don't have the full conference schedule, but more or less the non-con is out there, except the FCS opponent. It'll be USF, FAU, Buffalo, all games in Florida. Which I know we asked Percy. He doesn't really see it as an advantage that all their games are going to be in Florida. I think it's a little bit of an advantage. You don't have to do too much crazy traveling, but regardless, this team is pretty much set. I think maybe aside from an addition here or there, who knows, like a walk-on or whatever it may be, this is the team with the one portal. What are your expectations for FIU football going into 2026? We kind of spoke about it a little bit, where they could go from this past season, and then for you, the second year in this role, I'm sure a lot of learning moments, and now a lot of things where, all right, I did this once already, now we're going to do this again, and we're going to add some changes here and there to really maximize what you could do with the content, with behind the scenes to work, and now you even have a secondary person for yourself.
Yeah, I think from a standpoint of kind of the outlook on 2026, and just to kind of talk on that in a more analytical way, I get Percy's mentality, and that's really should be a player's mentality. Is kind of every game is in its own vacuum. They don't really care where they play, when they play. But we all know as media and not on the team that it does matter. And I think just as much as all the games being in Florida, I like that. What I'll say is, to be honest, I think all 4 of the non-conference games FIU can expect to have a chance in, and I think 3 of them FIU will expect to win. That would be against Buffalo, that would be against whoever the FCS opponent is going to be, and that would be against Florida Atlantic. USF has a new coach, a new roster. Never quite know. The American is definitely a step up. But again, getting the opportunity to start the season out where you don't have to go to Penn State and you don't have to go to UConn and sort of know what you're going to be up against in those games, gives you a chance to get the season off to a better start, which to me, non-conference record doesn't really matter, but getting some momentum does. And if you can start off 3-1, as opposed to, I think last year it was 2-2, and then it quickly became, I think, 2-3, and then 3-4, and then 3-5. You get what I'm saying? Having an opportunity to have a solid record coming out of non-con play is big for a team that's in the G5 level. A lot of the teams have pretty much at least one auto loss pretty much on their schedule. So the way FIU's schedule is shaping up for this season, I think the team could easily eclipse the 7-win total. As far as, and it's not really a prediction, but that's kind of what I think, is tangible there. And then as far as winning the conference championship, you just got to go to every game with your best, put your best foot forward and see what happens, right? WKU, when they lost to us, they probably thought they were down and out, and then they made the conference championship, right? Or no, it was Kennesaw against Jacks.
Kennesaw against Jacks.
So, but regardless, when Jacks lost to us, they probably thought maybe they were down and out. You guys get what I'm saying? You have to find a way to just be consistent. If you can put a good efforts together on a consistent basis, which I think one area FIU struggled a little bit, was just some games were good, some games were not. You'll have a chance in this league to win the conference championship for sure. You will.
Oh, man. Already getting us excited for football, but there's still quite a bit of time to go, Darin. Let's turn the page real quick, talk a bit about softball. Give us a quick sort of rundown of what you were excited for last season. Of course, the team went 29-22 and won, being one tie. But overall, how are you feeling about how the Panthers could do this upcoming season?
Yeah, I was kind of a relief pitcher for softball last year. I just kind of had to kind of step in and kind of fight the fires, and we all kind of took it together as a team and made it work. But having the opportunity to kind of own it and it being mine has been fun so far this year. And, being so used to working with basketball and football, you're used to just an insane amount of roster turnover, right? I mean, men's basketball, we literally only returned, I think, 2 guys from the year before. Football, most of those primary guys were gone going into this past season. Softball and baseball, but really softball especially, you don't get hit as hard by the portal. At least we haven't. So the opportunity to bring back some all-conference players that set a good standard last season ended in not the best way. Didn't didn't win in the final 10 games, but certainly looked like they could have. And they looked really close to being able to really make a statement, get to 30 wins, blah, blah, blah. So, and you're bringing pretty much all those people back. So I think the expectation is to take a step forward from that this year. It will definitely depend on the pitching, as baseball is about pitching, but softball is even more about pitching. And so we'll just see how that goes. But when you have people like Kennedy Bird coming back, you have Callie Meredith and Paige Miller that were all conference players. You have some other veteran leadership, whether it be Kendall Catherwood, Janelle Martinez. A lot of the other girls on the team are more than capable of getting the job done and making an impact. Samaya McBurrows is fully healthy now and back playing shortstop. So I really do think that this team will have the ability to surprise people, make the conference tournament. And then once you make the conference tournament, you never know what's going to happen.
Well said there. And to do a complete 180, let's give Tyler his shout out here. I mean, he's taking over your role at men's basketball. I mean, how many pointers did you have to give the man about things and what to expect for FIU hoops? The fact that he's Northeastern too, did that make you go like, hell yeah? What is the deal with Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Tyler, obviously he had some experience in a similar role already when he was working at Georgia Southern. So I knew from a men's basketball SID standpoint, he was good and he was capable. And he's been able to come in and hit the ground running with kind of the more traditional things that everybody does, right? But obviously we've had to kind of bring him into sort of the FIU family, show him, hey, here's how we do things a little differently at FIU, or here's how you need to handle Coach X versus Coach Y, because we have more experience with working with some of these people directly. But overall, he's been doing a great job, doing the job, doing well in every facet, and has been a very good addition to our team, and I think has been, a solid addition to being with the men's basketball program.
Alrighty, I think it's time to get into some fun rapid fire questions here, Darin, to start to close out the show. Kevin, as always, start off with a controversial one that's going to go crazy in the group chats.
I don't know who you would say for this, unless you think it's yourself, but who's the funniest SID?
The funniest SID? Well, it's a little bit of a multifaceted question, because is it intentionally funny or just the one that I laugh at the most?
Let's go laugh at the most.
I think you'll say the same guy regardless. Although it's between two guys.
The one that's the most intentionally funny, I might give that to Lucas. But the one who I laugh at the most is John Mayer, unequivocally. John Mayer is the one who I laugh at the most. Sometimes I think he's trying to be funny. Sometimes I think he's not. And then he realizes that everyone's laughing at him after the fact. And then he's like, oh, I guess this was funny. So you guys know Johnny. He's his own cat. And I would say he's funny in his own way. Does that make sense?
I get it. I absolutely get it. Where is the go-to spot for you to eat, either on campus or maybe around campus?
Oh, okay. Well, I do have to shout out Green Chicken, because I always shout them out. So I probably still put them at number one. But I will say this new sandwich place that's over, it's not on campus, but it's basically right off campus.
It's right across.
The one. It's over by the Taco Bell that's over there. Very, very, very good. Employee discounts for FIU employees, 20%. I think students get it too. On Wednesdays, they have an $8 special. See, I'm a pretty good promoter for them. So sandwich is the goal. And you have to remember, being somebody that's from the East Coast and especially from Philly, I know a good sandwich, and they make a quality sandwich. Firehouse and Jersey Mike's, much as I love them, I know they can't hold a candle to sandwich right now. So.
Hey, if they want to cater the food next year.
Exactly. I might have to talk to them about a little promo deal now for how much I just plugged them up. But yeah. So.
All right. Lucas said Ishkabibbles was the best spot in Philly to get a cheesesteak. Do you agree? Or if not, where do you think is the best spot?
It's not a bad take. Ishkabibbles is kind of a more low-key spot that people like, but you have to go to Angelo's. That's where you have to go. It's all about Angelo's. Not only is it all about Angelo's for the cheesesteak, but they also have good pizza. So, like, normally you go to a cheesesteak place, you go to Pat's or Geno's, they only got cheesesteaks. So, cheesesteaks are great. No knock on them, but sometimes you want to have a cheesesteak and a slice of pizza or something like that. Well, Angelo's, they've got at least a 9 out of 10 cheesesteak, and at least an 8 out of 10 pizza. You don't find very many places that can do both really well. So that's where I'm going to go with Angelo's. But Ishkabibbles is not a bad take. Not a bad take.
All right. Between the three sports here, the SID for football, tennis, softball, which sport do you feel like you would be the best at suiting up and playing now?
At suiting up and playing right now, tennis for sure, 100%. Softball, I'd feel pretty good in the outfield. I would not want to hit. No interest in being in the batter's box. No interest in playing the infield. Football, no interest in being on the field at all. If I'm being honest, guys. No. So tennis is the one I'm going to go with. Softball, if I was like a defensive sub and you want to stick me out in right field for a few innings, I'm cool. But if I have to bat, no thanks. Unless I'm wearing a mask on my face or something, I'm good.
I kind of felt tennis coming. Kevin told me some stories about Darin, the pickleball player, looking like Brian Brady out there at those pickleball courts.
Yeah.
So I'm not too surprised there. Darin, all right, we're about to wrap up here. I got one more thing for you. If you have anything you'd like to say to the fans, to FIU, to anybody in particular, the floor is now yours.
Okay, so I am going to flip the floor is yours on you guys, and I need you to come up with as fast as you can. I need you to come up with your FIU football Mount Rushmore while I do my floor is yours. I need 4 players that you say are the 4 best players in the history of FIU football. I need it quick too. So get thinking, and I'll give you mine after we're done with that. Then you give me your Mount Rushmore, and then my floor is yours is only going to be used to promote and tell you guys that you guys do a great job with this podcast. It's a big part of what we do from a media standpoint at FIU. The student athletes, coaches are extremely receptive to it, and having this and how hard you guys work for it should not be understated and should be recognized. And I think you guys get good recognition and good feedback from everybody. But as somebody that works in the media world and leads the communications unit here, you guys are very professional about what you do, and you guys do a great job. Okay, that's enough time. All right, FIU football Mount Rushmore. You ready?
Jake.
All right, I got 3, and I'll throw the final layup to Kevin. TY,
Okay.
Magoo,
Okay.
Sip, and Kevin gets the layup for the 4.
No, you got to do 4.
No. You got to choose your 4. You got to choose your 4.
Okay, I'm throwing in Price. I'm throwing in Price at the 4.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Damn, what's his name? I forgot. Oh, TY.
Yep.
Janu.
Yep.
Sip.
Yep.
KJ Owens.
Oh, we had the same one. I love it.
There we go.
I love it. I'm not gonna not put my boy KJ on there. There's no.
I was very close to giving Joe P the funny.
Whoa!
Hey, 4-0 as a starting quarterback.
Okay.
But no, it is
No,
Sip.
Joe P is the GOAT, but it's different.
Joe P doesn't get.
Joe P is the GOAT, but
Joe P doesn't go on the Mount Rushmore.
Joe P is the GOAT, kind of like how Nick Foles is the GOAT, guys.
Yeah.
He's not the best player in the history of the Eagles, but he kind of is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys gotta get it. It's a little. It's similar. Joe P
doesn't get the Mount Rushmore. He gets on the statue, dude.
Exactly. And where's Nick Foles? He's not his number isn't even retired with the Eagles, but guess where he is? He's on the statue in front of the stadium with Doug P, who also isn't with the Eagles anymore. So Joe P is to FIU football what Nick Foles was to the Eagles.
That's a good comp. Yeah.
Those are my top 4. Sip,
maybe he'll be with
TY and KJ.
Maybe he'll be what Jarrett Stidham is to the Broncos in a few days. Hopefully, fingers crossed. At least.
God, that's gonna be rough. But all right, Jake, wrap it up.
Alrighty, Darin, thank you so much for hopping on, getting us pumped for football. By the way, check it out. I have a phone tripod for our
we're prepared
interviews. Yeah, we all had to get some upgrades, right, for the upcoming season. And thank you so much for hopping on and talking some football, Darin.
Of course, boys. Anytime. I appreciate what you guys do, and I will see you around FIU.
All right. For
thanks to
Darin,
everybody, Paws Up podcast
Kevin,
viewers, you guys are the best.
You all are the best. And until next time, Paws Up!